and he was standing there. He was a little short fellow, so he just could look in the barrel. Then he would reach in the barrel and take out a little piece of paper. He'd look at it, smile, and drop it in again. Then he'd reach in and take another one. And that went on, perfectly contented. And on a little more humorous side, there were two of them walking around the yard, and one fellow was wheeling a wheelbarrow upside down. The other fellow says, "My good man," he says, "you should turn that over." He says, "You should turn it over and wheel it the other way." He said, "What do you think I am, crazy? If I do, they'll fill it with bricks." So, be careful, don't get that way from being too nervous. So, we have to have a little diversion because no one wants to get absorbed in this subject so that they forget that they really are children of God and of that nature, buoyant and happy. And so, we come now to the cause of nervousness. The basic cause is, as I have said, due to the lack of the harmonious flow of life force within our physical nervous system. And that is caused by a restless mind. Uncontrolled thought processes. That's why our Master has said, still the lake of the mind. The lake of the mind must be still. And then the reflection of the soul can be seen easily. And so this is the basic cause of nervousness. Remember that. Uncontrolled thought processes plus the flow of life force through the nerves in an uncontrolled way which burns them out or at least irritates them so that you are jittery or nervous. Now there are many contributing causes to nervousness. For instance, as I have said, these unemotional outbursts. Emotional outbursts of temper, fear. Fear is the worst thing. Repression. Fear especially. Fear just disintegrates the nervous system, so to speak, and the uncontrolled thought processes go on and allow the life force to flow in an inharmonious way. Realize that fear is one of the greatest things. Now, another thing which contributes to nervousness is lack of self-control in health matters. People do not eat properly, and many overeat, and that leads to nervousness because of the overactivity of the nerves. Overeating is one contributing cause. Another is undereating. How many diet here? Go on now. That's good. Undereating is just as important, perhaps more so, because you know the nerves have to be nourished. They have to be nourished. Nervous tissue is a tissue. That's why most fat people are good-natured, because the nerves are covered up nicely and nourished nicely, and so everybody feels good, all fat people. Now, if you carry it the other way, and the nerves are not nourished, that's not good, and it will lead to nervousness. But the worst cause of nervousness is that thorn in the flesh. Remember this. An uncontrolled restlessness. People say, if I could only still those thoughts, then I could do something with this business. And that's right. An uncontrolled mind is the thorn in the flesh. Understand that. And later we'll find out how to do away with that thorn in the flesh, how to remove it. And so overeating, breaking of health laws, and other things which we haven't time to go into too much, like we must be temperate in all things. Eating, working, especially working nowadays. You know, the pace is terrific. When I come up here from Encinitas, I spend most of my nervous energy dodging the other fellow and wondering whether I'm going to get it or not. These are facts. You cannot deny it. And so we must not forget that the pace of this life is depleting. But if you feel the presence of God with you, whether you're on the freeway or anyway, you can rise above these causes of nervousness. Realize that. And also in sex we must be moderate, And in all things we must be temperate. And if we are temperate, nature is very tolerant. Nature will stand an awful lot. If you have a condition, a heart condition, or a condition in another part of the body, the heart will enlarge sometimes twice its size. So nature is very tolerant. And if you try a little bit, try to overcome and be temperate. And especially if you'll follow meditation, which I'll come to in a minute, then without question of a doubt, these obstructions will be removed. These obstructions which prevent the natural flow of God's presence within us and give us the natural calmness of our soul. Now I have a reference which the Master gives, which I'd like to give you at this time. He says in his autobiography on page 54, outward frailty has a mental origin. Realize that. Outward frailty has a mental origin. In a vicious circle, the habit-bound body thwarts the mind. The mind is the controller, of course, but when the body is in such a state that your nerves are irritated and burned out, and those patterns of thought in the mind have formed definite tracks there, it's very difficult to eradicate them and not to be nervous. And so you can see what the Master means here. If the Master allows himself to be commanded by a servant, the latter becomes autocratic. The mind is similarly enslaved by submitting to bodily dictation. So if you keep on eating and overeating and eating and overeating, naturally something's going to happen. Why not be moderate? And the wonderful part of it is, if you're moderate in your eating, you can enjoy the food much better. When I met the Master, I thought, well, here it comes. When he suggested of discipline and this, here it comes. No more eating, no more enjoying. But I found that you can enjoy it much more. I'm not just saying this. You can enjoy the food.